We are taught from the very beginning to be strong. From the first day of basic training, this lesson is drilled into our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. Strength means pushing past the pain, ignoring the exhaustion, and never ever letting them see you break. It becomes a part of our identity, a shield we carry into every battle, both on the field and within ourselves. We learn to equate stoicism with survival, and silence with resilience. This training serves a purpose. It forges soldiers capable of withstanding the unimaginable pressures of conflict. It builds a foundation of grit and determination that is essential for the mission. But what happens when the mission ends? What happens when we return to a world that operates on a different set of rules, one where the armor we so carefully constructed becomes a cage? The very strength that kept us alive can begin to isolate us from those we love, from the support we desperately need, and even from ourselves. The silence that once felt like a necessary tool for survival slowly transforms into a heavy burden, a weight that grows heavier with each passing day. It becomes a quiet, persistent ache that no one else can see or understand because we have been expertly trained to hide it. The world sees a hero, a pillar of fortitude. They see the uniform, the medals, the unwavering gaze. They don't see the sleepless nights, the memories that play on a relentless loop, or the profound sense of disconnection that can follow a life of service. We carry these invisible wounds deep inside, convinced that to reveal them would be to tarnish the image of the warrior we are supposed to be. This perceived expectation, both from society and from within, creates a formidable barrier to seeking help. We fear that admitting our struggles will be interpreted as a failure, a crack in the unbreakable facade we have worked so hard to maintain. This internal conflict is a battle that far too many veterans fight alone, in the quiet corners of their own minds. We are told to tough it out, to suck it up, and to drive on. These phrases, which once served as mantras of motivation, can become toxic commands when applied to the complex landscape of mental and emotional health. The strength that was once a source of pride becomes a prison of silence. We are left holding an immense weight, believing that we are the only ones who must carry it, and that asking for help would be the ultimate act of weakness.
This journey of redefinition is not one that we are meant to take alone. Faith teaches us that we were created for community, for connection, and for bearing one another's burdens. Isolation is the enemy of healing. It allows the negative thoughts to fester and grow, convincing us that we are beyond help, beyond hope. But when we step into a space of shared experience, whether it is a prayer group, a veterans ministry, or a formal therapy session, we quickly discover that our struggles are not unique. We find others who speak our language, who understand the weight we carry without needing it explained. In these moments of connection, a powerful transformation begins to take place. The silence is broken, not with a roar, but with a whisper of vulnerability. And in that whisper we find an incredible resonant strength. We learn that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but a profound act of self-preservation and courage. It is the first step toward reclaiming our lives from the shadows of trauma and pain. It is the moment we choose to stop suffering in silence and start walking the path toward genuine, lasting healing, supported by our brothers and sisters in arms, and by a faith that promises we are never truly alone.
The truth is, silence is not strength. True strength is not the absence of pain, but the courage to face it. It is the willingness to be vulnerable, to admit that we are hurting, and to reach out for a helping hand. This is a profound and difficult shift in perspective for anyone who has been conditioned to believe that vulnerability is a liability. In the military, showing emotion could compromise a mission or endanger your comrades. It was a sign that you were not in control. But in the life that follows service, clinging to that same mindset can be the very thing that leads to our downfall. We must begin to redefine what courage looks like in this new chapter of our lives. Courage is not just facing enemy fire, it is also facing the mirror and being honest about the reflection staring back at you. It is picking up the phone to call a crisis line. It is walking through the door of a therapist's office or a support group meeting. It is having the raw, difficult conversation with a loved one, admitting that you are not okay and that you need their support. This form of courage requires a different kind of bravery, one that is not about physical endurance but emotional honesty. In the military, there exists an unspoken code, a powerful and pervasive set of expectations that governs how we behave, how we think, and most importantly, how we feel. This code is not written in any field manual, but it is taught through observation, reinforced in every drill, and solidified in the shared experiences of service. It dictates that emotion is a luxury we cannot afford. We learn very quickly that expressing fear, sadness, or doubt is not just frowned upon, it is seen as a potential weakness that could compromise the unit's integrity and effectiveness. The mission always comes first, and personal feelings are secondary, something to be suppressed and dealt with later, if at all. This culture of emotional suppression is a survival mechanism, born from the harsh realities of military life. To function effectively in high-stress, life-or-death situations, a soldier must be able to compartmentalize. You learn to build walls around your feelings, to lock them away so you can focus on the task at hand. This ability to disconnect from fear or grief is what allows a service member to perform their duties with precision and courage. It is a necessary skill for the battlefield. We are praised for our stoicism, for our ability to remain calm under extreme pressure. This reinforcement teaches us that a stoic exterior is the hallmark of a dependable soldier. The problem is that this conditioning does not simply turn off when we take off the uniform. The unspoken code follows us home, deeply ingrained in our psyche. We carry it into our relationships, our civilian jobs, and our private lives. The habit of bottling up emotions becomes second nature, an automatic response to any form of stress or discomfort. We might not even be consciously aware that we are doing it. It just feels normal to put on a brave face, to insist that I'm fine even when we are crumbling on the inside. This code, once a tool for survival, begins to work against us in a world that requires emotional connection and vulnerability to thrive. As a result, the very idea of seeking help feels like a betrayal of this fundamental code. It feels like admitting defeat, like breaking a sacred pact we made with ourselves and with our fellow service members. We worry about being judged not just by civilians who may not understand, but more profoundly, by our peers who were forged in the same fire. The fear of being seen as the one who couldn't hack it is a powerful deterrent. This internal pressure to uphold the image of the unshakable warrior is often the first and most formidable obstacle on the path to acknowledging that we need support. The silence becomes a matter of honor, even as it slowly erodes our well-being.
This conditioning creates a dangerous internal narrative. When we experience symptoms of post-traumatic stress, anxiety, or depression, our first instinct is to apply the same military logic pushed through it. We tell ourselves that it is just another form of pain, another hill to take, another challenge to endure alone. We believe that if we just try harder, if we are just stronger, we can conquer it by ourselves. This internal battle is exhausting and isolating. It convinces us that our struggles are a matter of weak character rather than a legitimate health issue that requires professional care and compassionate support, just like any physical injury. Furthermore, this culture of endurance fosters a deep-seated distrust of anything perceived as soft. Therapy, counseling, and emotional expression are often viewed with suspicion within this framework. They can be seen as excuses or crutches for those who lack the mental fortitude to handle their own problems. This stigma is a powerful force that keeps many veterans from even considering seeking help. The fear of being labeled as someone who needs a crutch is often greater than the pain they are experiencing. We become trapped by the very discipline that once kept us safe, conditioned to endure our suffering in silence, believing it is the only honorable way.
Basic training is a masterclass in endurance. It is a systematic process designed to break down the individual and rebuild them as part of a cohesive unit. From the grueling physical demands to the relentless mental challenges, we are taught one primary lesson: your personal limits are meant to be broken. You learn to push through pain, to ignore exhaustion, and to keep moving forward no matter what. Suck it up and drive on is not just a slogan, it is a philosophy that is drilled into every fiber of your being. This conditioning is essential for creating soldiers who can withstand the rigors of combat and the austerity of deployment. This relentless focus on endurance creates a mindset where any sign of struggle is perceived as a personal failing. We learn to see pain not as a signal that something is wrong, but as an obstacle to be overcome through sheer force of will. A twisted ankle on a forced march, a moment of doubt before a difficult task. These are things to be concealed, not shared. Admitting to a struggle feels like letting the team down. This mentality is incredibly effective for building resilient warfighters, but it is deeply detrimental when applied to the invisible wounds of the mind and spirit. Mental health challenges cannot be overcome by simply toughing it out. Living inside this cage of emotional armor is an incredibly lonely experience. From the outside, we may look fine, even successful, We hold down jobs, raise families, and go through the motions of a normal life. But on the inside, a profound sense of isolation takes root. We feel misunderstood, disconnected from the very people we want to be closest to. They cannot see the war that continues to rage within us, because our armor is too effective at hiding the scars. We long to explain what we are going through, but we lack the words, and we fear that even if we found them, no one would truly understand. This isolation reinforces the culture of silence. The cage grows smaller, the walls thicker. We start to believe that no one can help us, that we are fundamentally broken, and destined to carry this weight alone. The thought of asking for help seems pointless. How can a therapist or a pastor possibly comprehend the world we came from? This belief, born from the isolation of our armor, is one of the most powerful lies that stigma tells us. It convinces us to stay silent, to stay alone, and to stay trapped. The armor that was once a symbol of a warrior's strength becomes the cage that slowly suffocates the human spirit within.
The tragedy occurs when we return home and find that we cannot take the armor off. It's like it has been worn for so long that it has fused with our skin, becoming a part of who we are. The emotional detachment that protected us in a war zone now prevents us from connecting with our spouses, our children, and our friends. The stoicism that was a sign of strength on the battlefield now reads as coldness and distance to our loved ones. We try to reach out, to feel, to connect, but we are trapped inside this rigid shell that we so carefully constructed. The very thing that once kept us safe now becomes our prison.
Every soldier is given armor. It is heavy, cumbersome, but, essential for protection. It shields us from physical harm, allowing us to walk into danger with a greater chance of walking out again. Over time, we learn to build an emotional armor that is just as vital. This internal shield is constructed from stoicism, detachment, and an unwavering focus on the mission. It protects our minds from the full impact of the horrors we may witness or the immense stress we endure. This armor allows us to function, to lead, and to survive in environments that would otherwise be psychologically crushing. It is a necessary and life-saving tool of the trade.
When a veteran considers seeking help, the fear of judgment is a powerful barrier. We worry about how our families, friends, and especially our fellow service members will see us weak, fragile, or unable to handle pressure. This fear silences us before we even speak. The judgment we fear is not only external, but also internal. We become our own harshest critics, haunted by the military's expectations. Admitting we need help feels like betraying the warrior we were trained to be. We learn to perform wellness putting on a mask while suffering quietly behind it. The weight of maintaining this facade is exhausting, draining the energy we need for healing. The stigma becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We isolate ourselves and in doing so, become weaker.
Recovery isn't about erasing the past, but integrating it and moving forward. We must dismantle the myth by sharing stories of resilience and celebrating the courage to heal. Seeking support is a tool for reclaiming our narrative, not a label of damage.
Wounds don't mean we're broken. A scar is proof of healing, not defeat. Seeking help is strength, not weakness.
The myth of the broken veteran makes us fear seeking help, as if it confirms the stereotype. We fight against this label, clinging to our identity as resilient individuals.
Society paints veterans as either heroes or broken souls, never the complex people we truly are.
Facing this internal battle means you're still a warrior, and no warrior wins alone.
Healing is a strategic maneuver, laying down old weapons and letting others help.
True victory comes from knowing when to call for support.
This gap between our inner reality and outer appearance deepens our shame.
The struggle is invisible, making us feel alone even when surrounded by others.
Military training can backfire. Hypervigilance and emotional compartmentalization now isolate us.
We fight our own thoughts using the same grit we once used in combat.
After the battlefield, a new war begins inside, marked by memories, anxiety, and numbness. This small seed of faith gives you the strength to move forward. This is where the silence loses its power and recovery truly begins.
This turning point is an act of faith. Faith that you're worth saving and that healing is possible.
It's an act of reclaiming your life and choosing your future over an image of invincibility.
The decision to seek help is not the end of struggle, but the end of struggling alone.
Seeing a peer embrace vulnerability gives us permission to do the same.
This moment is deeply personal. For some, it's rock bottom. For others, it's hope sparked by another's story.
Every veteran who breaks their silence reaches a turning point, a moment when the cost of silence outweighs the fear of speaking. Even if imperfect, sharing your pain breaks the spell of isolation. This single act of courage is a monumental victory on the path to healing.
A compassionate ear is the bridge from isolation to support. This first conversation is the act of breaking the silence and gaining an ally.
The response you receive, compassion and patience, can be life-changing.
The words are hard to find, but the act of speaking is what matters.
Choosing who to tell is daunting. The fear of being seen as broken is overwhelming.
After the turning point, the next hurdle is the first conversation, turning silent struggle into spoken reality. By embracing this different kind of courage, you not only begin to heal yourself, but you also become a beacon of hope for others who are still trapped in silence. You demonstrate that vulnerability is not a liability, but a gateway to connection, wholeness, and a peace that you may have thought was lost forever. This is the quiet courage that wins the war within.
Ultimately, this courage transforms you. It moves you from a place of silent suffering to a place of active healing. It proves that true strength isn't the absence of weakness, but the willingness to engage with it honestly.
Each of these small acts builds on the last, strengthening your capacity for vulnerability and reinforcing the knowledge that you are on the right path. This is the slow, deliberate work of building a new kind of resilience.
This courage isn't a one-time thing, you know? It's a continuous practice. It's the courage to show up for a therapy appointment when you'd rather just stay home. It's the courage to speak your truth in a support group, even when your voice shakes. It's the courage to be patient with yourself during the long, often non-linear process of recovery, acknowledging the bad days without giving up hope for better ones.
For a warrior trained to project strength at all costs, this can be a more terrifying prospect than any physical threat. It involves dismantling the very identity that may have kept you alive for years. It's an act of surrendering the old definition of strength in order to embrace a new, more authentic one that allows for healing and growth.
This different kind of courage, man, it asks you to confront your deepest fears. Not on a battlefield, but in the quiet spaces of your own heart and in the presence of another human being. It means facing the fear of judgment, the fear of being misunderstood, and the fear of being seen as weak.
But there's another kind of courage, one that's quieter, less visible, but honestly, just as profound. This is the courage of vulnerability. It's the bravery required to take off the emotional armor and expose the wounds that lie beneath. It's the strength to admit you're not invincible.
You know, we often associate courage with the battlefield. It's the bravery of facing enemy fire, of running toward danger when every instinct screams to run away. It's the physical and mental fortitude to complete the mission despite overwhelming odds. That's a real and honorable form of courage, and yeah, it's rightly celebrated.
By breaking the silence, veterans are not only saving their own lives, they are actively building a new culture of hope, connection, and authentic strength for the generations of service members who will follow them.
The ripple effect of honesty is how a culture changes. It starts with the courage of one, is amplified by the support of a few, and eventually transforms the understanding of the many.
Ultimately, every story of recovery that is shared chips away at the monolithic wall of stigma. Each conversation, each admission of struggle, and each journey toward healing adds a crack to that wall until, eventually, it can no longer stand.
This understanding can begin to mend relationships that have been strained by the silence.
This can foster deeper empathy, patience, and more effective support from those closest to the veteran. It helps families understand that the issue isn't a lack of love or a character flaw, but a legitimate wound that requires care and compassion.
The honesty of one veteran can also educate and transform the perceptions of civilians, families, and friends. When a loved one finally opens up about their internal battlefield, it provides a window into a world that was previously invisible. It replaces stereotypes and assumptions with a real human story.
It sends a clear message that seeking support isn't a betrayal of the warrior ethos, but an evolution of it. This can inspire others who have been suffering in silence to take their own first step. One person's story can become the turning point for a dozen others, creating a cascade of healing that strengthens the entire community.
This ripple effect is most powerful within the veteran community itself. When a respected peer, someone who has walked the same path and speaks the same language, admits to needing help, it fundamentally challenges the stigma from within. It redefines strength for the entire group.
When a fellow service member hears a story that mirrors their own struggles, it instantly shatters the profound sense of isolation they've been living with. They realize they're not alone, that their experience isn't a sign of some unique personal failing, but a shared consequence of service.
In a culture where silence and stoicism are the norm, one person's vulnerability can grant permission for others to be vulnerable too.
When one veteran finds the courage to break their silence, they do more than just start their own healing journey. Their act of honesty creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond their individual experience.
The military forges bonds unlike any other. We learn to rely on the person to our left and right, understanding that our survival is inextricably linked to the strength of our unit. We become a part of something larger than ourselves, a cohesive whole built on trust, shared hardship, and unwavering loyalty. This powerful sense of community is one of the most profound aspects of military service. Yet, upon returning to civilian life, this vital connection is often severed. The very structure that provided so much support disappears, leaving a void that can feel vast and overwhelming. It is in this void that isolation takes root, and the internal battle often begins. Healing from the invisible wounds of service requires us to rediscover this fundamental truth. We are not meant to be alone. The warrior ethos that emphasizes self-reliance can be misconstrued as a command to handle everything by oneself. But true strength is not found in solitary struggle. It is found in rebuilding the community that was lost. It is about seeking out others who understand, who can stand with you in this new kind of battle. The lie of stigma is that your fight is yours alone. The truth of community is that your fight is our fight, and that a burden shared is a burden lightened. This is where the power of community truly shines. Stepping into a group of fellow veterans, a church ministry, or a support circle is like coming home. It is a return to a place where you do not have to explain your experiences to be understood. The shorthand, the dark humor, the shared understanding of what it means to have served, all of it is present. In these spaces, the armor can finally be set aside, not because it is being surrendered, but because it is simply not needed. You are among comrades who have their own armor, who know its weight and its purpose, and who will not judge you for the scars it hides. Rebuilding these connections is an active, intentional process. It requires the courage to show up, to be present, and to both give and receive support. It is about understanding that the very teamwork and camaraderie that ensured mission success on the battlefield are the same principles that will ensure healing and recovery back home. We were never meant to be islands, isolated by our pain. We were created for connection, designed to function as a unit. The journey out of the darkness of silent suffering is not a solo mission. It is a group movement, powered by the collective strength of a community that refuses to leave anyone behind. Within this sanctuary, a powerful exchange takes place. As you listen to the stories of others, you gain perspective on your own. You see how others have navigated their challenges, the strategies they have used, and the hope they have found. And when you share your own story, you realize that your pain can become a source of strength for someone else. The very experiences that brought you so much suffering can now serve a new purpose, to help another person feel less alone. This act of transforming personal pain into collective healing is one of the most powerful steps in the recovery process. This is why support groups and veteran ministries are so vital. They are more than just meetings. They are sanctuaries from the storm of isolation. They are the places where the unspoken code of silence is officially broken and replaced with a new code of shared vulnerability and mutual support. In these circles, we are not defined by our trauma, but by our collective resilience. We come together, not as broken individuals, but as warriors, learning to heal together, drawing strength from the shared experience that once wounded us, but now unites us in a common purpose of recovery.
There is a unique and profound healing that can only happen in the presence of others who have walked a similar path. A therapist can provide tools, and a loving family can offer comfort, but a fellow veteran can offer a rare gift, the gift of true understanding. They have felt the weight of the rucksack, they know the sound of a silent barracks, and they understand the complex transition back to a world that no longer operates on the same rules. When you share a part of your story with someone who has a similar story of their own, there is an immediate, unspoken validation. You see your own struggle reflected in their eyes, and in that moment, you know you are not crazy, you are not broken, and you are not alone. This shared experience creates a sanctuary. It is a safe space where the fear of judgment dissolves because everyone in the room has faced their own internal battles. You can speak of the unspeakable, the memories that have been locked away, without fear of shocking or alienating those who are listening. In these groups, a story of a panic attack in a crowded store is not met with confusion, but with knowing nods. A confession of survivor's guilt is not met with platitudes, but with a quiet, shared reverence for the weight of that burden. This is not just therapy, it is a sacred communion of souls who have been tested by fire.
Your pain is not something to be hidden. It is something to be shared so that it can be carried by many hands. This divine command gives us permission to be vulnerable, to reach out, and to trust that we will be met with compassion. It assures us that in our deepest need we are not meant to stand alone. We are meant to stand together, carrying each other's burdens as one.
This reciprocal exchange of support builds a community that is incredibly strong and resilient, held together by the very act of bearing burdens together. This spiritual truth offers profound liberation from the prison of shame. It tells us that our struggles do not make us a liability. They make us an opportunity for the community to practice love and faithfulness.
When we apply this principle, the dynamic of a support group changes. It becomes more than just a place to share stories. It becomes a place of active ministry. When you listen to a fellow veteran's story, you are helping to carry their burden. When you offer a word of encouragement, you are helping to lift their load. And when you share your own struggles, you are allowing others the blessing of fulfilling their purpose by helping to carry yours.
But faith reframes this act. It teaches that allowing others to help you is not a sign of weakness, but an act of humility and trust. It is an acknowledgement of our shared humanity and our mutual need for one another. It fulfills the very design our Creator intended for us.
This verse speaks directly to the heart of the veteran's struggle. It tells us that the immense weight we carry from our service is not meant to be held by one person. It is a burden that the entire community is called to help bear. This principle directly confronts the military mindset of absolute self-sufficiency. The idea of letting someone else help carry your load can feel foreign, even wrong. We have been trained to be the ones who carry, the ones who protect, the ones who endure. To admit that our own burden is too heavy can feel like a failure.
Faith provides a powerful framework for understanding the importance of community. The scriptures are clear that we were not designed for isolation. In the book of Galatians, we are given a simple yet profound instruction. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. This is not just a gentle suggestion, it is presented as a core command, a fundamental aspect of a life of faith. Resting in this truth can lift the immense pressure to maintain the facade of the unbreakable warrior. It frees us to be human, to be vulnerable, and to lean on the infinite strength of a God who promises to be our refuge and our fortress in times of trouble.
Ultimately, faith anchors us in an identity that is not defined by our trauma or our service. While being a veteran is a significant part of who we are, our core identity in faith is as a beloved child of God. This identity is secure, unchanging, and not dependent on our performance, our strength, or our ability to hold it all together. It is a gift of grace.
This perspective does not ignore or minimize the pain of trauma, but it places it within a larger context of hope. It suggests that post-traumatic growth is possible, that our scars can become symbols of a grace that is bigger than our suffering. This belief can provide the strength to endure the difficult process of healing, trusting that it is leading toward a future of restoration and peace.
It is the quiet assurance that even when you feel most alone, you are in the presence of a love that is unwavering and unconditional. Faith also provides a narrative of hope and redemption. It teaches that suffering is not the end of the story. It holds out the promise that even the deepest wounds can be healed, and that our most painful experiences can be redeemed for a greater purpose.
Prayer becomes a direct line of communication, a space to pour out the anger, grief, and confusion without any fear of judgment. It is a conversation with a God who can handle the full weight of our pain, who knows our wounds intimately, and who promises to never leave us nor forsake us. This constant companionship can be a profound comfort during the long sleepless nights or in the sudden grip of an anxiety attack.
In this disorienting storm, faith can provide a steadfast point of reference, a source of stability when everything else feels like it is shifting. It offers the promise that even in the darkest valley, we are not unseen or forgotten. A relationship with God offers a sanctuary that is always accessible no matter the time or place.
Beyond the essential support of community, a personal faith can serve as a powerful anchor in the turbulent waters of recovery. The experience of trauma can shake a person to their core, leaving them feeling lost, adrift, and disconnected from any sense of meaning or purpose. It can raise difficult questions about justice, suffering, and the nature of good and evil. The silence has held you captive long enough. The internal battle has taken a heavy enough toll. The time has come to choose a different path, a path of honesty, connection, and shared strength. This is the bravest choice you will ever make, and it is the choice that will lead you back to yourself and back to a life of purpose and peace.
Let the courage that saw you through your service now guide you toward recovery. Let it be the force that pushes you to make that first phone call, to speak that first difficult truth, and to step into a community that is waiting to welcome you.
You are not a liability to be managed. You are a human being who has borne an immense weight, and you deserve to lay that burden down.
Every story of struggle shared, every hand reached out for, and every step taken toward a support group or a counselor's office is a victory. It is a powerful act of defiance against the stigma that thrives in darkness and silence.
Remember that asking for help is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you want to be whole. It is an affirmation of your own worth, a declaration that your life, your peace, and your future matter.
This is not an act of surrender. It is a strategic and courageous maneuver toward life. It is the ultimate demonstration of strength to admit that you cannot win this war alone, and to call for the reinforcements of community, fellowship, and faith. This is where true healing begins.
This choice is a conscious and profound turning point. It is the moment we decide that our well-being is more valuable than our pride. It is the recognition that the armor that once protected us has become a cage, and that true freedom lies in the willingness to take it off, piece by piece, in the company of trusted allies.
But when the battle shifts from the fields of a foreign land to the quiet landscape of the heart and mind, the definition of courage must also shift. The bravest thing a warrior can do is not to suffer in silence, but to have the courage to choose connection over isolation and vulnerability over a facade of strength.
The path of a warrior is defined by courage. We are taught that this courage means facing down external threats, enduring hardship without complaint, and pushing forward no matter the cost. This definition serves its purpose on the battlefield, forging soldiers capable of incredible feats of strength and resilience. Do not suffer in silence. Your life matters more than words can say. Reach out today. Help is here, and hope is real. You are not alone.
You have served with honor, you have fought with bravery, and now you deserve to heal in peace.
It is found in the courage to speak our truth and in the grace we show to ourselves and to others.
Remember, true strength is found not in the silence we keep, but in the connections we build.
Your support helps build a culture where every veteran knows that courage is honesty.
By liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel, you help us reach more warriors who need to know that there is no shame in asking for help, and that there is a community ready to stand with them.
If this message has resonated with you, please know that you are seen and you are valued. Your struggle is real, but so is the hope for a brighter day. We encourage you to share this message with another veteran who might need to hear it. Spreading awareness and breaking the silence is a mission we can all undertake together.
Take that step of faith. Reach out. Let others in. Your testimony is too important to be lost to silence.
You were created for connection, not for isolation. Your pain does not disqualify you from this community. It is the very thing that qualifies you for the grace and support that awaits.
There are communities of faith ready to embrace you, offering the unwavering anchor of God's love in the midst of the storm.
You are a living testament to the fact that healing is possible. Do not carry this weight by yourself any longer. There are people who want to walk alongside you, to listen to your story, and to help you bear the burden.
Your life is a testimony, and your journey through healing can become a powerful message of hope for countless others who are still fighting their battles in the dark, believing they are alone.
Your story is not over. The chapters written during your service are significant, filled with sacrifice, duty, and honor. But they are not the final chapters. The struggles you may be facing now are not the end of your narrative. They are, instead, a pivotal part of a larger story. A story of resilience, redemption, and the incredible strength of the human spirit.